do. She was able to get, and her and Reverend Scotland and the other people that were there were able to work with each person and get them what they needed. That's something that the federal government can't do. Can help them find the jobs that you were just talking about. Finding the apartments in affordable places through their local contacts that you were just talking about. This is the type of thing that, yeah, we really need at a charity level that gives that extra bit of service that the federal government, or any government for that matter, can't do. And maybe you don't have the faith in the charities. Maybe I have blind faith in the charities. But we're one of the most generous countries in the world. When they had Farm Aid, when they had anything, we are the world. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that stuff. We came up with more money than you can ever imagine. Because people, Americans, are generous. And they want to help. They just feel that going into the, just paying the tax man to take 25 cents out and pass it on just isn't the way. And it probably isn't. So places like Sister Jean's and other places like that are the ones that we really need to prop up to be able to get the job done.
Thank you. My next question is in regards to transportation, because that's one of the big issues that people with disabilities have. We have Access Link and NJ Transit in New Jersey, but they're not always the most responsive. So, or most practical for people with disabilities. So my question is, what would you do to improve transportation in general and for people with disabilities?
That's a really good question, and it's not very easy to answer, to be honest with you, because transportation for all of us is an issue, and especially for people who have special needs. You know, the three of us got in our cars and drove here, and we're annoyed by probably a few things, but you know, generally got here on time. But when you rely on somebody to come and pick you up, and you rely on, you know, it's almost like you're waiting for that date to arrive. You know, are they here yet? Is that them? No. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know how to change that. I don't know how to, and I'm being completely transparent here. I don't know how you would fix it unless you fixed the general idea of our transportation systems. We need more buses. We need more trains. We need more affordable ways. I mean, if you go to Europe, their transit systems there are so part of their entire culture. You know, you can get from A to B, you can buy a day pass, you can go on a train, you can go anywhere. You know, but in this country, we're very limited. We're very limited in the way that we get around. And it's another one of those rights issues. You know, your transportation, your freedom to move about is part of your freedom. It's part of your liberty. You know, and if you don't have access to that kind of mobility, you're hindered. You're limited. And I don't know. You know, I'm not afraid to say that I don't know how to solve something. That's one of the things that I don't know how to solve. So I would listen to people. I would listen, you know, I would say to groups just like this, do you have any ideas? Do you know what you might do to help this? You know, and then go off of that because, you know, the three of us, we're this isn't easy. We're trying hard to do what's right, and we don't agree on everything, but I feel like we're all honorable. You know, we're trying to help in the ways that we can. And I think that sometimes when you're vying for a spot and you're fighting for a spot, you feel like you have to be this all-knowing entity that is like, come to me and I will lead you all to the promised land. And we can't promise you anything. I don't know anything about it, you know? And if I don't, I need to go and find people who do. And that's what makes you a good representation of the people around you. Not knowing everything, not saying I have all the answers. It's saying, how can I help? You know, and that's in this area, I'm at a loss. I don't know how you'd fix that. I know that more of them would help. More drivers would help. More location hubs would help. But how do you do that? We're all talking about private business again. You know, and if it's not profitable, they're not going to do it. And it's a huge issue, and it's one of those things that I would need help from the community, especially from groups like this, because you guys, you're doing it. You're in it every day. I'm not. You know, and I would come to you and I would say, how can I help? And that's how I would try to solve it.
Steve?
Sure, I don't think there's any apologies to not being like, I can think off the top of my head of 4 world leaders who all had the statement, I alone am your salvation. And it was Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, and our present leadership. I alone. And we obviously aren't alone. And I think Bill, you know, basically hit the nail on the head. The first thing I would want to do is to meet with affected people, people with disabilities, and learn what are their needs and what you perceive as solutions to those needs. That would be a real commitment to time and effort in getting it right. Because once you understand what those needs are, the next thing is not so hard. It's working with people to know what would be the budgeting requirements to accommodate those needs. And then, of course, as a legislator, with the needs, with the budget requirements for accommodating those needs, then it's the real work of a legislator. And that's seeing that those monies are approved to fulfill those needs. That's it.
John?
Well, yeah, it's a great question, because we could throw as much money as you want at it. Go ahead with $22 trillion in debt. But if you don't do it the right way, and don't do the right things, we can put more buses on, we can put everything on, but I think the number one problem is getting from point A to point B. If the station is in Absecon, we still have that gap. And I don't think you want buses driving through the parking lot here. And just looking, and this is just my observation over the past few years, you look at the trend transportation in general is taking with the millennials and all, is Uber. And that's why I mentioned it before, Uber and Lyft, ride-sharing services. And like it or not, that's the direction it's going. So we can either work with trains, planes, and automobiles, like the movie, or we can go with the flow and think ahead. Where are we going to be? Not now, and solve today's problems. Let's solve the problem we're going to have 5 years down the road with Uber, with Lyft. Maybe you need Uber and Lyft they right now have Uber X,